Knightline is brought to you by the Dever Team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and this is Knightline 211 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Joining me as always,
Trace Trylko. Hello, everyone. Bye week. It's time for UCF football to hit the road at Tulane. We're talking about it with Brandon Helwig, publisher of UCFsports.com. UCF men's basketball gets the gritty road win Sunday. Former men's player Ben Stout stops by for analysis. The postseason picture for men's soccer and volleyball becomes clearer, and who's poised to be a team leader for football in 2020? That's an Ask Knightline. But first,
on the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again.
All right, will they be road warriors or road woes? UCF heads to the Big Easy for a Saturday showdown with Tulane, hoping to show more of what worked at Temple and none of what failed in Tulsa.
I like that song, but part of that message was, can't wait to get back on the road again. Is there anybody saying that?
Yeah, well, I noticed that wasn't in there.
Right? Is there anybody looking forward to a road tilt? By the way, the game time announced noon Eastern, but they will be in the Central Time Zone. That's an 11 a.m. start in New Orleans.
Yeah. Well, I just hope that they're not out in the clubs overnight, Friday night before the game. They better be in their hotel rooms.
Well, right. We had a bye week. There were some press availabilities, Coach Heupel and the like. But, what do you know? You don't know anything. What have we learned? We don't know anything.
Nothing.
Right? Until the team goes on the road, shows you that it can do what it did in Temple and not what it did in Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and more notably of late, Tulsa. It's just talk all week. I mean, we don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to clean up the penalties? I don't know. Well, are they going to not turn the ball over 3-4 times? I don't know.
And that was one of the questions that I was asking this morning on Knightline the morning after. I was going to call it the day after, then I decided not to. Anyway, I asked the question, what do you hope the football team worked on during the bye week? What would you say? What would be your biggest thing that you would want them to have worked on this week?
Well, I'm disciplined, but I think you are what you are after 10 games. I think we're going to see moments of brilliance from Dylan Gabriel, and they're going to be freshman moments. So I don't know how much more of that you can work on. The greatest work that he can do is being in real live game situations. And I'd like to see them work on the leadership that comes with the team. But again, after 10 games, I think what I'm looking for more than anything is maybe some more creativity in play calling and more of what works and less of what doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that sounds simplistic. That is not the most expert analysis you're ever going to find, but Temple, do what you did at Temple.
Shockingly enough, that was my answer. So my answer to that question was to make up some creative coaching stuff and get a win somehow. That's what I want.
Get a win somehow.
It doesn't matter how. If it's offense, if it's defense, we just need to win the game.
Get some turnovers.
Period.
Tulane lost the turnover battle at Temple, loses the game in Philadelphia on Saturday. Win the turnover battle. Be ball hawks.
Yeah.
Show some creativity. We had a game a couple weeks back where two tight ends caught touchdown passes. How about Wild Wimbush for 32 yards? Show me something, Show me something. Or Show me that play where you throw to the sideline three throws in a row.
Well,
Show me
I
that
mean,
again.
That worked. It worked 3 times in a row. So
Yeah,
I mean,
you know what I mean.
Yeah. No.
Show
I
me more than 3
understand.
points in the second half.
Yeah. Well,
Show me 28 points in the first quarter. So I don't know what we're going to get. Again,
we'll see.
this is a team that has the talent to win at Tulane, win Black Friday, win its bowl game, be 10-3. But we've said that all along. It's also a team that once you've lost at Tulsa, you can lose any of these games.
There's still a mathematical chance as well of some crazy equation that Einstein would have to work out that we could be in the American Championship.
Cincinnati loses, we win. There's multiple tiebreakers. Don't bank on that or anything.
I'm not putting any money on it.
No.
I'm not suggesting that anyone else does.
There is a mathematical chance.
Yeah. So it sure would have been nice if the Cows could have helped us out. But
You can't count on them for anything.
Yeah, you can't count on them.
They
for
missed,
anything.
4 field goals?
Something like
Oh,
that, yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah.
But, really, maybe it's the timing of the year anniversary of Mackenzie Milton's injury in Tampa on Black Friday, coming up on that year. Maybe it was a great diversion with the bad taste of the Tulsa loss in a bye week where we're all stewing on it. But Mackenzie Milton spoke for the first time since spring. And, boy, you can see the growth and maturity in this guy. He held court. It was a packed scrum of media members. And he took on all questions. And
You want
he
to
answered
hear
them.
some of those clips?
But, I mean, to me, that was the highlight of the week.
We played the whole thing this week in a Knightline now, but why not? Let's play some of those clips. All right, so here is KZ basically talking about the 1-year anniversary.
This last week I was talking to Mary Vanderheiden, our head athletic trainer, that we're coming up on a year, and it's just been a lot of ups and downs this past year, but honestly it's gone by pretty fast considering, it's about a week from Saturday, I believe. But, just where I'm at now, it's night and day from then, and, I'm definitely grateful for where I'm at.
I'm just glad to see him walking and not using crutches or whatever. That last home game when he walked out to the center of and was out there for the coin toss and all that. That was a big thing, I think, for him.
As you point that out, there are moments we have seen visually where you do see progress. So you just said it.
Yeah.
Not walking with the crutches, walking out for the coin toss.
And not having a horrible limp like he had at first. And, somebody asked him what the timeline is. Here's what he had to say.
It's not necessarily a timeline right now. It's just kind of day to day. But I'm busting my butt. While the guys are at practice in the weight room with David Young, one of our strength coaches. He pushes me, Bam, and Alec Holler. We're all knee guys right now, and it's kind of cool just to have guys to lean on while we're both struggling. I mean, all three of us are struggling. Trying to get back right. So. But, we're all pushing weight. We're all just trying to better ourselves.
What is the next goal in your rehab that you're trying to reach?
And get this brace off. That's the next goal, and it should be some point in the near future I'll get this off. Just normal day function, then I'll move to a sports-specific brace.
All right, and then somebody asked him what he can and can't do, and that's a great question as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I can't run yet, I can't jump yet, so in the near future, that'll probably be something that will be progressing physical therapy. So, it's getting close to that point, and then I think I'll start stacking blocks, and, it'll start be like a little avalanche effect where, I just keep getting better.
All right, well, I think that would be great for him to get to that next point for sure. You ask him after that what the dream was. Is the dream still the same thing as it was before?
What's the dream now?
Dream's the same. I want to go to the NFL one day. I want to play football. And then I want to coach after that. That's been my dream since I've been in high school. So none of that's changed. That's still the goal.
I was kind of surprised to hear the NFL in there, given the circumstances. It surprised me a little bit, but that's great because his dream is exactly what it was before. So nothing has changed in that. And you ask him some other stuff that I don't have the clips right now for. We had him in the Knightline now. That
Yeah,
we
and if
played,
you
'cause we
haven't
played
listened
the
to
entire
it,
thing.
listen, it's 15 minutes. It just
It was the
flies
whole
by.
thing.
Listen
Yeah.
to the whole scrum. It's in our feed of download content, and you really just listen to it, and you're going to get a full picture from him.
I think it was you that asked him though about what was the hardest part of it, the mental or the physical part, and he said definitely the mental side of it.
And not being able to be out on the field with his teammates in the good moments and the not so good moments. Now he's there, but he's not in the huddle. He's not
wearing the uniform.
He's not Dylan jumping up into the arms of Gabe Davis celebrating a touchdown, and that's got to be hard to watch just a few feet away on the sideline. You don't get to celebrate in that moment quite the same way.
Well, Black Friday is coming, so that will be the 1-year anniversary, technically.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think all of this week has raised some interesting questions. What is your guess? What do you think, knowing the extent of the injury, having gotten to know Mackenzie, his family, through these years, today, what would you say? Does he suit up for UCF again? Will he wear the black and gold in a uniform and play?
Well, before this week, I thought no. I thought there was no chance before this week. But I listened to the way that he said those things, and he said those things with the utmost confidence that he would. You know what I'm saying? Because he didn't say that he won't. So I feel like he will now. I really didn't think so. In fact, there was a lot of rumors about him, even this press conference being, or a lot of speculation anyway, about this being his retirement notice.
I thought that was silly. The Orlando Sentinel sent out a photographer. You heard the clicking of the shutter behind the scenes there. The columnist, Bianchi, comes out for this in anticipation that he might announce that. I don't think he would selfishly do that to the team on its bye week.
Well,
with there are more games to be played.
I would have thought somebody would have probably put him up to it, to doing it that way if that was the case. I actually reached out to someone and asked someone that knows him very well, I'm not going to say who, and ask, is this what's going to happen? And that person said, absolutely no. No drama. That's not what it's about. It's not about that. I have no idea what it's about. But so I was relieved, obviously, when I got that message back. I do think that he'll come back in some capacity. Now, he said also in this thing that he doesn't want to come out at 85% or 90%. He wants to come out as 100%. That's the thing that I worry about. If he will be able to get back to making cuts and all that stuff. That's a big deal. And from what he's been through physiologically with the leg and the nerve and all that stuff, whether that is going to work like that, like the way that it did before, that's a special thing to be able to make cuts. A lot of people, normal people that aren't athletes, can't do that. It's a really hard thing to do, to plant your foot and go. And he was really good at that, and really, really knew how to use his feet. So if he can get all that back, the footwork and everything back, and he's able, I don't think he's really able to work on any of that right now because he says he can't run and jump. To do both of those things, you have to be able to run and jump. You can think about it all you want. You can do it mentally. You can do it, I guess, in slow motion, and maybe he's doing that kind of stuff in slow motion. But the knee is a huge part of all that. So that would be the one thing. He may come out and be a pocket passer. I would say there's more of a chance that he would come out and be a pocket passer than running like he did before. He said that he would slide a lot more, which was kind of a funny moment. So if he can get to that point of doing all those things, I wouldn't see why we wouldn't see him. And I would love, and that will be, that'll be an incredible moment if that ever happens. Sorry, I always, when I talk about him, I get a little weird, but.
Well, one of the questions I asked about him was, has Teddy Bridgewater's success with the New Orleans Saints this season inspired and motivated him? and longtime Knightline listeners, and we know we have a lot of new folks, but if you go back to that time and the aftermath of that injury, CST's Paul Boron, who is New Orleans-based, spoke with Bridgewater about McKenzie's injury, wishing him all the best. And now here, a year removed from that, you see the success of Teddy Bridgewater, who many people would have given up on ever doing anything again. Yeah. And he's a source of inspiration and motivation for McKenzie. To answer the question I posed to you, I simply don't know if he will. He doesn't know if he will. I do believe, and I thought this prior to this week's press conference, that if anyone could do it, it would be him. But when you seized on something there, if he's at 85, 90%, whatever it is, he's going to come to the conclusion on his own. He's going to assess whether it's something that he wants to do, perhaps not at the same level that he was playing at prior to that injury. He will come to that on his own. He'll get to a point where he's medically cleared to do something, no doubt, and he'll have to decide.
I mean, is Teddy Bridgewater playing at the same level that he did before?
No, probably not.
Yeah,
no, he's a different.
He's a different quarterback. He's probably a better quarterback, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I mean, with what we saw in the weeks where Drew Brees was gone there in New Orleans,
more contained, more
didn't run as much.
Yeah,
obviously, but I mean, that guy's injury was just as bad, if not worse, than McKenzie's was. His was a non-contact thing, which was even weirder. He planted his foot, and all that stuff just went away, which meant there was probably a lot of damage in there from before, and blah, blah, blah. His just fell apart. So, personally, I think he's probably had even more reconstruction, because I know that McKenzie's knee wasn't completely torn up. Bridgewater's knee was completely torn up. They rebuilt everything in his knee.
And there's certainly the benefit of being younger.
Yeah.
When the injury occurs and being able to heal faster.
Absolutely.
All right, so you think you could see a day where he plays again for UCF. Let's just forecast out a year. A year ago, Mackenzie Milton was in the midst of a Heisman campaign. Since then, we've seen Darryl Mack. We've seen Quadri Jones play. We have seen Brandon Wimbush come from Notre Dame. We've seen the freshman phenom, Dylan Gabriel. So if you're looking at 12 months of a calendar, a lot has happened. Yeah. So what it might look like 12 months from now, who knows?
Yeah.
Right? Well, who knows? And we talk about this with Brandon Helwig. But let's put McKenzie back into the mix. McKenzie versus Dylan. How does that shake out? I mean, to suggest that he play again could mean that.
Yeah.
Could mean a battle.
It could.
I mean, it's hard to fathom it, but if you have him play in a year from now,
there would have to be a battle, and he wouldn't want it any other way. He wouldn't want it any other way. I guarantee it.
Boy, is that a hard battle to picture in your head?
If that comes up and that is the way that it goes, there will be a battle, and he won't want to be given anything. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So that could be interesting.
And what does Josh Heupel do then?
Well, he lets the best man win, just like he did this year.
Yeah,
he let the best man win.
That's an interesting hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
Seems far-fetched hypothetical, but if you're going to keep in your mind that McKenzie could play again for UCF, that's what that might mean.
I think we'll be lucky if we see him come out and throw one pass or something. Even if it comes down to that, I'll be happy.
And he might not be ready for the first game. Yeah. Being ready might come into the season.
Yeah.
Right? Because here we are 10 games in, so you're talking about 12 months, less than 12 months if he were ready for fall camp. Maybe that time frame doesn't work out.
We'll see. I mean, he's done amazing things already, so we will see. And I hope that's the case. I hope that there has to be a quarterback battle. I really do. I mean, all of us, I think, wish that for him. So hopefully, that'd be awesome.
My other question that I thought about this week, he's not shied away from talking about wanting to coach at some point. You could foresee a day where that coaching opportunity comes in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Absolutely. No question.
Are you all right with that?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, because Scott Frost is the guy that gave him his opportunity here. And Josh Heupel may not give him that opportunity here.
Well, who knows? I mean,
He
Kevin
came
Smith got
from-
his opportunity
right.
at Florida Atlantic. You don't know where a guy's opportunity is
He
going to come.
came from across all the way from Hawaii for Scott Frost. And he I'm sure feels that he owes a lot to Scott Frost. So I would not hold that against him if he wants to go do that.
Do you think there are portions of our fan base that will, though?
Of course.
He's a celebrity in our
Of
world
course.
now, but he'll be, I mean, let's go back. Sean Beckton, a UCF Athletic Hall of Famer, longtime coach,
Right.
tremendous standout player.
Right.
People were ready to lose their mind
Right.
that he had gone north with every other coach.
Right. Well, he got kind of a shafty deal here too, so
Can we see ourselves wishing Mackenzie well? Because he's always going to be fondly loved by Knight Nation, right? You think about 10-year anniversary teams and 20-year anniversary teams of the 2017 National Championship. Who's going to get the biggest applause?
and it would be about Scott Frost. It wouldn't be obviously about Nebraska. He has no connection to Nebraska.
No.
So it wouldn't be anything like that. It's just he would be following, his guy, the guy that was his guy. So that would not surprise me at all. If at some point when this is all over with, he winds up there or wherever Scott Frost is. Scott Frost may not be there.
They just tacked on a couple more years.
Yeah. Did they?
Yeah, they added 2 more years to his contract, which means nothing.
When?
Over the weekend.
Oh,
They
you're
announced
kidding.
it. They added 2 more years.
For
Through-
what? For losing?
I think they
Oh.
wanted to quell any talk amongst the recruiting chatter.
That doesn't
he
mean
wasn't
anything.
No, it means nothing.
Yeah. You can have an extension and then get fired the next day.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
Sucker. You know?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't mean anything.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Well, I think those 3 questions. I mean, I don't know if this is the episode you time capsule and you look back up again, but I think as we see over the next several months, Mackenzie's progress, and he'll keep making progress. Does it get him back to the football field? Does it lead to some sort of quarterback challenge in 2020? Because I would say, right, if you take Mackenzie out of the mix, and certainly training camps have got to play out, but based on the year Dylan Gabriel's had, you have to say, well, he would be the quarterback going into 2020,
Absolutely.
favored to win the job.
absolutely.
Because you don't know who will still be on the roster between now and then, and you've got
Right.
some new guys coming in
Right.
as well. So,
Well,
you know what I mean? So
I
it's-
think Dylan Gabriel is definitely the future of our quarterback position, but there's going to be some new guys come in as well. There's going to be some new freshman quarterbacks. That Mike Wright guy or whatever
Yeah.
looks really good. But I don't think any of them have an arm like Dylan Gabriel does. So I don't think there's not a lot, if anybody, that has an arm like that. He has a very, very special arm.
I don't want to excuse him for the mistakes he's made because he's had mistakes, right?
Right.
He's going to
Well,
make mistakes.
When
Any
you're
quarterback,
an 18-year-old kid, especially, you're going to make mistakes like that.
if he had a little bit better line play,
Yeah.
he'd have a fewer turnovers.
He's been brilliant when he has been brilliant and been bad when he's been bad.
But he had a little bit more time
Right.
on those balls that he threw away. Gave up as an interception.
Yeah.
And,
Yep. You're absolutely right.
2017, Mackenzie was sacked 14 times in 14 games.
Yep.
Right?
Mhm.
Averaging 1 a game. I think we're up to 22 through
Yeah.
10 games. I
Yep.
mean, so,
Yep.
But
there was a little quicker decision making going on back there as well.
Certainly.
But that comes with being a freshman and all this stuff. I mean, I think we're in great hands with him. Just if you, and I keep, repeating this, but if you look at the difference between Mackenzie, his freshman year, and his sophomore year, it was night and day.
imagine a similar leap.
And Dylan Gabriel, as far as throwing the ball, is leaps and bounds ahead of him, where he was when he was a freshman, where Mackenzie was when he was a freshman. Leaps and bounds as far as a thrower. So if you can have that same sophomore, leap, it should be amazing. I mean, I don't know how much better he could throw the ball. Maybe make decisions a little bit better, and maybe hopefully have a little bit more time, like you said, to throw the ball. He's not gonna, magically become a wonderful runner like McKenzie was.
But you're starting to see a little more confidence.
But he's getting there. Yeah. So, and I think, an offense can be designed around a quarterback as well, and the type of a quarterback you have. I think we're still running a lot of the plays where McKenzie would make something happen before, and with his feet. You see at times when they put DJ out there, he'll make something happen when things fall apart. So, he may learn that. They may let him go a little bit more as far as running. They may encourage him to run a little bit more. So I think there's going to be – I'm excited to see, I should say, what next year brings for him. I think it's going to be good.
Definitely. There's a lot of upside, even more upside for another year of Dylan Gabriel.
Absolutely.
Yeah, certainly. Well, we lost a bye week this week. We're out of both polls.
Well, we won the bye week because we didn't lose.
Yeah,
so.
But it cost us whatever votes we had in those polls.
Yeah, whatever.
And we're out of both the coaches and
it doesn't matter.
The writers. UCF at UCF Sports Info posting today, and thank you for this. First time since week 4 during the 2017 season that UCF received no top 25 votes.
Well, we'll get back there. We'll get back.
They'll be back into receiving votes if they win the next couple.
Yeah, we'll get back in there. Next year. It's all about next year now.
Is it? You've turned the
Well,
page?
I would love to. I want these last 2 games, and I have come to the conclusion that I am perfectly happy with them accepting the Cure Bowl right here in Orlando. I would love to see it. And maybe we can get Arkansas State again and play them, and we could
rematch.
We could win that game, hopefully. I would love to see our hometown team play in our hometown soccer stadium.
That sounds funny.
I know. But I mean, whatever. I think it would be a nice environment. I think it would be easy for our fans to get to. If we're going to have a crappy bowl game, why not have the crappy bowl game here? And I think that's what we said before when we were talking about the Cure Bowl.
Yeah, I've got those bowl.
Not that the Cure Bowl is crappy. It's just, it's one of the lower tier bowl games. It was on December 17th or whatever the last time, I think.
December 21st this year. A Saturday.
Well, there you go. That's
soccer
that's great.
stadium. Yeah.
I'm down for it. Let's accept the offer now. Let's call Gooch. We have Gooch. Both of us have Alan Gooch's number. I have it in my cell phone.
I think UCF's got to. They're the last in the line of the bowls that get to pick, so
that's fine.
It's not as likely.
That's fine. Well, I'm gonna do some
lobby.
I'm gonna do some lobbying.
All right. So football of a different kind, men's soccer. The third time, not the charm for 5th-ranked UCF men's soccer. They lost 1-0 to 10th-ranked SMU Saturday night at the UCF Soccer and Track Complex. A chilly night. Big turnout, though. Big crowd, drum line. Students were in the ends cheering them on. It was a good atmosphere despite the chilly temperatures. This is the 3rd straight year the Knights and the Mustangs have squared off in the American Championship, and SMU has knocked out the Knights each of those times.
You were out there. What happened? What happened?
They started slow.
Was it exceptional play by SMU?
SMU is very good.
Yeah.
SMU is very good. UCF started slow. And then found its footing. By that time, had given up a goal.
It was too late.
And the previous meeting with SMU was a 3-3 thriller. That's a lot of goals for soccer. SMU hunkered down. UCF just couldn't get. They had a lot of shots. They had a lot of corners. I think they outshot SMU 19-9.
Wow!
And you can't find the back of the net.
Is their goalie exceptional? I mean, is he a good goalie?
Tall kid. Yeah, but some of the crosses were just a little too far, a little too underwhelming, and it just wasn't as crisp the play that you've come to expect from UCF. My concern going in was, they haven't had a bad game in a while.
Yeah, well, there it is.
If you're going to have that bad game, though, maybe you have it in this game, because now you go into the NCAAs, you lose and you're out. So here,
well, they
you
still
lose
have every opportunity, and they're gonna be in a good spot still.
Yes.
To win there.
A win was no guarantee that they would be a top 4 seed, and a top 4 seed would host every round until the College Cup in North Carolina. They were positioned there. They might have been 4, maybe 5, 6, somewhere in there. Of course, losing isn't going to allow for that to happen. They're still going to have home matches. Start next weekend. They're going
to host something.
Yeah, that'll be announced,
and that'll be big
Monday
in itself, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to host a regional, right?
Oh, yeah, tremendous.
That hasn't happened before.
No, they did last year.
Oh, they did.
Yeah,
okay.
they last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure about that.
I mean, now they are 14-2-2 overall in the RPI. Going into the weekend match, they were 3rd. And, if they're going to have a bad game, again, this is the time. Get it done, because they hadn't lost.
Would have liked to have that American Championship trophy.
They hadn't lost since a 2-1 defeat at then 4th-ranked Wake Forest back on August 30th. We are coming to the end of November, so that tells you their unbeaten streak had gone on through the entire season. A couple of draws in that mix, So let's hear from Knights head coach Scott Calabrese.
It's been a while since you've lost. That's not a taste that your players are used to.
No, they've and we've been in all sorts of different positions. We've been ahead, lost leads, and then gone on in overtime to win. We've been behind and gotten goals and again won from a losing position, and then like against Temple where we were playing probably our best football, and we've gone on and dominated the game. It didn't look as if we were going to lose. So we've been in lots of different situations where we've had to fight and claw and scrap to win, and so this was something our guys haven't dealt with in a while.
Trace, couldn't you just told those kids to shut up? No, I'm joking.
I think they may have been Coach Calabrese's children.
I'm joking.
Either that or it was Coach Lovelady's kids that descended upon a new field.
There you go. It was probably them.
It's probably them. So we're going to find out who and when UCF plays in the NCAA. The selection show out at UCF, they're going to have a little bit of a get-together. Be Monday between 12 and 2. NCAA.com rolls it beginning at 1 o'clock. So pretty soon after that, 1:15, 1:30, they'll know who they're playing. They'll be hosting next weekend.
Maybe we'll have a Knightline now to tell everybody what happened.
Well, I think the real challenge is that they're most likely going to play as we record, which will be a bummer.
Well, we may have
I would like to go out.
Do something. Well, if that happens, we may have to.
Well, except we've got Libby in town next weekend, and you've extended the invitation for her to sit in on Knightline.
We can cancel that.
Okay. Yeah.
It's all good.
It may be a 6 o'clock Sunday kick, which means 6 to 8. By the time you get post, drive back to the 1148 studios, you're talking well after 9 o'clock, and it's getting to be late. Yeah. So may have to have it on the laptop while we're talking about it.
Well, we can do it, real time or something.
Where I can join in progress. Libby can sit in. No? Well, I like the idea. I want to thank at Chris T. Davis 034 who heard the Knightline that we did where we played the full Mackenzie scrum. And again, really encourage you to listen to it. Just 15 minutes of your time. He wrote, "You've got to be one of my," speaking of me, I thank you for this, "we've got to be one of my favorite college football voices around." Holy moly. That's high praise right there.
Wow.
That's high praise. You pose some really interesting points and questions every week, so I thank you for that.
Very cool.
I ask what...
Did he pay you?
No. Nor did I
you pay him. That's what I meant. Yeah. Did you pay him?
No money was exchanged.
Wow.
But that's high praise right there.
Yeah.
I ask that which interests me.
You do a great job.
So thank you for that. We use our bye week to catch up with Brandon Helwig, one of the most frequent Knightline guests. Hadn't been here in a while. He's the publisher at UCFsports.com. He will join us on the Knightline hotline next.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline and Knightline Postgame Live. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com. Let's catch up on UCF football with the publisher at UCFsports.com. A return guest on Knightline. He is Brandon Helwig, and he joins us now on the Knightline hotline. Brandon, been a while since we've spoken with you.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when that was. It might have been preseason. You know, everyone's talking about what a great year it was going to be, and New Year's Six potentially, and Brandon Wimbush was going to start at quarterback, and still a good season, but you know, a lot of things have changed, I guess, maybe since that August timeframe.
Before we delve into the season through 10 games, we had opportunity this past week to hold court with Mackenzie Milton and speak with him. 2 questions for you. What are your most vivid memories of that Black Friday in Tampa, and what were your takeaways from the conversation with Mackenzie this week?
Oh, boy. It was, you know, that game, which I guess is about a year ago now, it's just, you know, it was just, I mostly remember driving back to Orlando. You know, because when the injury happens, you see a serious leg injury. I mean, you didn't really know right away how serious it was. I mean, you see guys go down and get carted off. It might be an ACL. You know, maybe he broke his leg. You didn't really know that there were some life-threatening complications in play. And, you know, that became, I guess, apparent maybe towards the end of the game, and some things on Twitter and some text messages and some things that people were hearing, that it was much more serious than just, you know, hey, maybe he broke his leg or what have you, or just dislocated his knee. And, you know, some of the information that I was hearing, you know, driving back, like, you know, this is serious. He could lose his leg and all this stuff. And you didn't know what was happening. I mean, you know, of course, I mean, he's in surgery. Of course, they didn't know at that time, but you're just thinking about it. It was such, you know, I remember stopping at a rest stop in Lakeland or wherever it was, and was just, you know, stopping to look at my phone and all this stuff, and just like, you know, I was just like in shock, just heartbroken for him, and just, you know, hoping that, you know, that the worst case scenario did not happen. And I guess we later found out, I mean, he was very, very close. You know, there would not have had such a great hospital nearby with Tampa General. I mean, if it would have been a situation, we want to talk about another Hawaii quarterback, Tua, who had a serious injury this past weekend in Starkville, Mississippi, with his hip. You know, and they had to helicopter him from Starkville to Birmingham. You know, it wasn't quite as serious, obviously, as Mackenzie Milton's injury was. But what if Mackenzie would have been hurt in one of these, you know, places that doesn't have a great hospital or doesn't have a great, you know, surgeon on call that can do that kind of surgery at a moment's notice? So, you know, I'm just happy for him that in spite of everything, you know, football, whatever, but the fact that he's walking, you know, that, you know, his leg is improving. He said himself that the nerve was doing great. He's got feeling in his leg and his foot and all that stuff. You know, we'll see what ultimately happens with the game of football, if he can make a return or not. You know, you heard him, Trace. He said that's still his goal, and that's still what drives him every day. But you know, he's still in the recovery mode. You know, the rehab takes place every day. He's not in any position to say, yeah, I'm going to be back my next year. I'm going to try to. He didn't really put a timeline on anything. But yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing that I kind of remember about that game. It's just that terrible feeling in your stomach, just hoping that the worst case did not happen.
Well, you know, we've got another Hawaiian quarterback, and I said all along that I thought that he was going to start. Even over Brandon Wimbush and everybody else. What do you think of Dylan Gabriel? I mean, he's had a year. I mean, he's had his freshman moments many times, at least in 3 games, but still.
He's been awesome. I mean, honestly, I mean, you know, I know we're coming off, you know, a game that wasn't one of his shining moments, but, you know, I really think the offensive line has let him down. You know, we talk about the last game against Tulsa, the Cincinnati game. He's still a freshman. He's learning situations as they come, going through them for the first time. But I'm not going to put that game on Dillon Gabriel. This past one against Tulsa, I mean, he was rattled pretty hard on that that errant snap and getting hit. And that should have been a targeting call, but it somehow wasn't. And the offensive line just did not play well at all. I mean, this was a Tulsa team that I think only had like 5 sacks the entire year, and they sacked Dillon 6 times. So not even looking at that game, it's a freshman season. I mean, he's going to obliterate every freshman quarterback record at UCF. I think his freshman quarterback stats are, if not the best, some of the best marks in the entire nation. I thought he would start at some point too, just the buzz hearing about him during the summertime and springtime. I kind of really wondered how, Brandon Wimbush would work out. I mean, as we know, it didn't work out at all. But, knowing that, some passing was really not his forte, Wimbush, and knowing that passing was the forte of Dillon Gabriel, I just figured it was a matter of time before, Dillon earned the opportunity to start. I'm not sure I thought it would happen that quickly as it did, but, I think the future is bright. I mean, if UCF is having, if we want to say this is, a letdown season, or maybe just, if you're not maybe competing for a conference championship, which I will say there is still mathematically a chance for a conference championship. But if this was the kind of season, UCF, if those options aren't on the table, I think UCF fans should be glad that you're doing it with a true freshman quarterback who is only going to get better versus playing with a grad transfer quarterback who obviously won't be here next season.
You've seen some 20 years of UCF quarterbacks, Blake Bortles, Justin Holman, Ryan Schneider, and the like. How does this season look to you through your eyes of Dillon Gabriel?
I mean, bar none. I mean, the best. I think I was in middle school when Dante had his freshman season in 1995. Didn't really remember or see much of that in 1995. But I mean, maybe that season, not counting, notwithstanding, this has got to be the best freshman season of the UCF quarterback. I mean, you kind of forget he's a freshman at times. Just the way he's the best deep ball thrower I've ever seen at UCF, and I think might have McKenzie beat on that as well. I mean, obviously McKenzie does a lot of things with his feet and run around and making plays and stuff that, Dillon doesn't quite have that trait among him, but just how he is just throwing just a beautiful ball and a beautiful deep ball. I mean, some of these touchdowns and some, they had a couple of back-to-back games recently, had, fourth down throws to Trey Nixon, just right on the money. I mean, you couldn't have thrown it any better than he did. I don't understand. I mean, fans are fans, but some of the criticism I've seen in social media levied toward Dillon Gabriel, I think is way out of line. I mean, he's had an amazing year. It's not going to be, perfect, all 12 games, but for what he's done and the traits he's shown, I think you really got to be excited about what the future is going to be like in the years to come.
Earlier, you talked about things we thought would happen this season that didn't, and one of those is we thought that this would be a very experienced offensive line. And there have been moments, but there have been big moments of letdown. I know we won't get a straight answer from Coach Heupel, so let's go to you for the straight answer. Why, Brandon? Why?
I think it was the loud music being played at Tulsa. I think that's the reason. No, Jake Brown did say that there was, I guess, Tulsa. I mean, I was there. I didn't quite pick up on that. It was affecting the offensive line as much as it apparently did, but on some of the pre-snap penalties. Tulsa's band was playing. The speakers were blaring music and things like that, where they couldn't hear snap counts and things, and that may have contributed to some of the false starts and what have you with that. But no, I don't know. I would have thought. I mean, really, the hype was certainly there with multiple starters returning with multi-year starting experience. Obviously another year more mature and stronger, and everyone thought everyone was going to improve even more. And everyone seemed to think this was, people were talking about, people around the program, not just me. People were telling me, we think this is going to be, quite possibly the best offensive line in UCF history. I mean, these were some, pretty bold claims, but I mean, it wasn't hard to think that was, and indeed a possibility. But just the way they were, didn't Pitt pretty much, had their way with them. And then Cincinnati brought out that front that they weren't expecting at all, or completely embarrassed in that game, really weren't prepared for that look. And Tulsa, I just don't understand. I mean, at all. I mean, this wasn't a team that was known for pass rush, and they weren't doing anything tricky, I guess you could say, or anything unexpected like Cincinnati did. They just got beat by three men rush, four man rush. I mean, it didn't matter what it was. People just whiffed on blocks, missed assignments, just had a lack of energy out there. I don't know. I mean, everyone's going to, no one's going to give you a straight answer of why they think that has been, but that's been the disappointing thing. If UCF's offensive line, you can point to a million things in a million different games, but, if UCF's offensive line was just a little bit better, they would have beat Cincinnati and they would have beat Tulsa and they'd be undefeated in the conference right now. I think that's the biggest letdown for, people who want to, look at Dillon and say, oh, he, threw an interception or did this or that, or, whatever, didn't. No, he's been great. I don't think you could have asked Dillon to play any better than he has this season for a true freshman. If you want to criticize, and I hate criticizing players, I think it's the offensive line that has been, perhaps a little bit disappointing this year.
Well, one way to fix that is to do some really good recruiting, and we know that December is approaching quickly with the National Signing Day, early signing day. What's going on in the world of recruiting recently? Recently they did have some official visits for the previous home game against Houston, and I was getting ready to put up a story. They're still recruiting a quarterback. I mean, when you talk about quarterbacks, we're talking about Dillon and the future with Dillon. Well, we did talk about. Remember, we were talking about how this could be the deepest quarterback room UCF's ever had. We were talking preseason. Brandon Wimbush is a grad transfer. You got Quadri. You got Daryl Mack when he comes back from injury. You got Dylan Gabriel. But, of course, Wimbush is obviously gone. Dylan Gabriel looks to be the quarterback of the future. But, we're not sure what's going to happen at that position long term. I don't know what Daryl Mack's going to decide to do. If he wants to play, maybe transferring to an FCS school is the move for him. I mean, I think he would have to, be here one more year to graduate, potentially be a grad transfer. I mean, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but you see the transfer portal these days, especially quarterbacks who aren't playing. That's a position where you see the most movement. I don't know about Quadri Jones either. He did get on scholarship here at UCF in the past year. If he would maybe think he'd be better suited to play, maybe at an FCS level or something. So you never know, that depth could dwindle in a hurry. So UCF is still recruiting quarterbacks in this class. They've had a commitment from Mike Wright from the Atlanta area. He committed in the summertime, and they actually just hosted another quarterback on an official visit during the Houston game on November 2nd, that being Cade Renfro from Stephenville, Texas. If anyone has been, kind of following recruiting for UCF, that was a guy that UCF has been recruiting. They offered him during the springtime, and he committed to North Texas, I think a few days after he got his UCF offer in May. So he didn't come down for a summer visit, but, he did come down and visit and check everything out, loved what he saw. I'm not sure if that's going to, I think he sees the situation with, it's got to be tough to recruit quarterbacks. You see Dylan Gabriel, you see a guy that, this guy's pretty good, and if I go there, I may not be playing for a little while. So that probably might affect him a little bit, but they're definitely recruiting him. And, I don't know if it'll work out like that, but they could take two quarterbacks in this class, but really don't have a lot of remaining spots left. They have 19 commits now. I mean, you never know once you get close to signing day, some guys could, maybe, drop off or, what have you. That happened with last year's class. But, with some of these grad transfers they brought in and allocating scholarships and stuff, I think they can really only sign maybe 22 or 23. So there's not terribly a whole lot of spots left. Corner is a position they really want and need, when you look at next year. And obviously, Neville Clark is graduating, and, Brandon Moore, you hope he's back to where he was, but, he's obviously got to come back off his knee injury, and there isn't a tremendous amount of depth there. So corner is a position they really want. There's a few guys in the mix, Justin Hodges, who had been committed to Miami for a long time. He was one of the early targets. He's a guy
they really want. He's been in the mix. They've got a few weeks back, they had Devontae Brown, who also took an official visit during that Houston game. He's someone in the mix. Miami is moving in on him too, because they lost Justin Hodges, so they're going on corner prospects. And then Jalen Harrell, who had been committed to Florida State for a long time, and he had decommitted from there, and he's looking in Miami and Georgia Tech. And as far as I know, he's still slated to take his official visit to UCF for this not upcoming, but 2 weeks from now, when UCF plays USF for Black Friday, he will be taking his official visit for that game. So those are kind of some of the names still in play. I think things will heat up obviously a little bit more once we get to December, and that early signing period date is still is in sight. I know they're still looking for another running back, maybe another defensive tackle, defensive end, someone like that as well. But I'm sure things will start to pick up. It's weird though. I know you talk about being a few weeks away. I'm not really used to I kind of preferred that February date, because it kind of gives you time to kind of react and breathe. After football season, it seems like it all kind of just runs into each other now, but not a whole lot of time from the end of the season to that signing day.
Do you think because of the season that we've had, that any of those players, have you heard anything about anybody wavering or anything like with their commitments or anything?
No, I really haven't. There really hasn't been much activity as far as that goes. And that's kind of how it goes just generally in recruiting these days, that a lot of guys commit, they decommit, they commit to 2 or 3 different schools, but that really hasn't happened with UCF in this class. Pretty much everyone has stayed solid. I'd say the biggest additions that UCF got did come earlier. Obviously, as it goes for most teams, UCF, or most teams get their commitments in the spring, summertime, before the season starts. But UCF did get a couple early season commits, which, when you look at the wide receiver position, just trying to, map out the future. Gabriel Davis, I can just say now he's not going to be here next year. He's going to put his name in for the NFL draft. I guess he has to announce, but that's the expectation, that he's going to get a favorable grade and he's going to go pro. And, I don't know about Trey Nixon. I think he'd be better served perhaps, by coming back for his senior year, but, I'm sure he'll, put his name in just to see what kind of grade he gets. So you need to start building or start to look at who are going to be those wide receivers of the future. And UCF did get, I think it was in around that Stanford game time, they got 2 of their top targets at receiver, a couple receivers from Georgia, Sam Brown from the Savannah area, and Jay Sias Cradle from Columbus, Georgia. Some bigger body guys, 6'3", 6'4", which UCF really doesn't have a whole lot of real big guys, currently, on their depth chart for receivers. So those are really, I'd say, those are probably the top commits UCF has, and really some big additions. And then, one guy who, is here now but hasn't been able to play is Jalen Robinson. He was a transfer from Oklahoma. And I've heard a lot of good things about him, as far as, him being, part of the receiver mix next year. So, yeah, those are some of the biggest names, that are already part of the class.
Besides Dylan, who have you been most pleasantly surprised about emerging this season?
Most pleasantly surprised, let me think about this for a second. I would say probably Tatum Bethune at linebacker. He's, obviously not playing as much as, the Eric Gilliards, Nate Evans, Eric Mitchells, but he's got in there and had some really good games. And that's a big position. Obviously, if you kind of look at the future with Nate Evans being a senior and everything and going to have, some more playing time available at linebacker this year, I think he has impressed me. When you look at offensive line, I know he hasn't played a lot because I know they're trying to, keep his 4-game red shirt. But Matt Lee, I've heard some really good things about the future with him. Probably going to replace Jordan Johnson at center next year. Heard some good things, and I know he's doing well. Ryan O'Keefe got a catch against Tulsa the other day. The speedy guy playing a receiver. Haven't seen a whole lot of him in action, but like I was mentioning a minute ago, obviously he would probably be a guy that would be more in the mix. Next year once some of these guys graduate. So I guess those are a few, but Dylan, really being obviously first and foremost at the very top.
Well, a little bit of breaking news here, actually, because I'm watching the Canadian Football League, and one of our former Knights is going to be in the Grey Cup this year. Brandon Alexander, actually, he's on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and they just won their game, and they are in the Grey Cup, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, let's get that. Yeah, everyone, when you think about Brandon Alexander, you remember that game at Houston, I believe in 2014. I mean,
he saved it.
Save the game. I mean, that was, you talk about some of the greatest finishes and greatest plays in UCF history. That's got to be right up there with JJ's catch and the Hale Perryman against ECU that same year, and pretty much ripping the ball out, and it just happened so fast. And where did the ball bounce? And bounce out of bounds at the touch. I mean, that was just you're going to go from a loss to a win just in that one play. That really was one of the amazing moments of that era.
He's had an interesting career up there. He's been hurt a few times and was out for extended periods, but Winnipeg has really stuck with him, and he plays that field corner. It's the 12th guy on the field, and he does a great job. And so he's playing for a championship next Sunday. It's awesome.
Yeah, and for guys, we talk about guys coming to UCF and earning scholarships and doing a great job with Greg McCrae, obviously going that route as a walk on and being where he is. Brandon Alexander was a walk on as well. He had to earn his way. He earned a scholarship and obviously did very well for himself here and now playing in the Canadian Football League. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to have an all-time walk-on team or guys who initially came in as walk-ons, he would definitely be on that list for UCF along with Michael Cluviale, Greg McCrae, and a few other guys. So it's great to see him doing well.
With George O'Leary here for so many years, for good or for not, we got used to his style. Scott Frost was here and gone in a flash with carryover players from George O'Leary, and now Josh Heupel has had Frost-era players. What have you seen in the growth and development of Josh Heupel as a head coach?
It's yeah. Okay.
I think that's the answer. I think that's the answer.
Yeah. I'm going to say that I don't know if we can answer that question yet. Really last year, for the team that he inherited and the expectations in play, did a great job, keeping everything rolling. And obviously, I think Mackenzie Milton, I mean, we give him all the credit in the world, but sometimes I think we don't even give him enough credit. I mean, Mackenzie Milton is the reason that Scott Frost is at Nebraska earning, $5-6 million a year or whatever. He's the reason he got a 2-year contract. He's the reason, Scott Frost is where he is. And he was the reason, UCF went undefeated regular season last year. And if Mackenzie Milton never gets hurt, I think UCF beats LSU. I think UCF is undefeated this year. And who knows where UCF would be if that was the case. Are we talking about, knocking on the door of the playoff or what have you? So, having a great quarterback obviously makes any coach look that much better. I mean, you can bring up any other examples. I think Willie Taggart, got to Oregon because he had Quentin Flowers at USF, and that led to him going to Florida State and what have you. So, I'm not trying to. Maybe I should have said that. I'm not trying to compare Josh Heupel to Willie Taggart. I'm just trying to say that a quarterback really makes the difference in how a coach is perceived. And for Josh Heupel, I mean, he's still young in his coaching tenure here. He's going to have to win with his players that he recruits. Obviously, it's kind of like that melting pot right now. You got Frost guys, and so a lot of those guys are graduating this year. He's got his own quarterback now with Dylan Gabriel, and he's going to have to plug in those pieces when these guys graduate. So I don't know if we really know yet. The jury's still out. I mean, I've been impressed by some things, and I think he's learning too, just like Frost. early in his career, wasn't perfect either. And I guess he was the next year, but, but just kind of, just this learning, different things, player management, game management, coaching staff, all that stuff, situational stuff. I know Heupel has been subject to a lot of, fan criticism at times and some of these losses and stuff, but, it just, for how UCF, the ball just bounced UCF. People sometimes forget. I think the football gods, or whatever you want to say, happened where eventually not going to go in your favor. And there were some games in 2017 where ball bounces a different way. You don't get a turnover here or there. That game easily could have been a loss. And then the same thing happens this year. UCF lost 3 games, but you can point out a play or two here or there. If that happens, UCF wins those games. I mean, they're not that far off. They're not, losing to Cincinnati by like 3-4 touchdowns or to Tulsa. I mean, they've been right in these games, 3 losses by a total of 7 points. So, I gotta say, you can ask me that question. I don't think I can answer that. I don't think anyone can really, answer that right now, maybe in another year or two. But yeah, you kind of threw me for a loop with that one, Trace.
Well, we try. We'll ask you that question again later. It's okay. Thank you very much, man, for joining us. I wish that we got to talk to you more. It gets so crazy during football season and everything that I'm glad that we were able to talk to you now. And hopefully we'll talk to you again before the regular season and all that stuff. There's a lot of basketball and everything else to talk about. So
yeah, you guys are doing a great job, and you got the radio show now and stuff. I got to remember to wake up and listen to that, because sometimes I'm just snoozing right in the road. I'm like, oh man, I should have turned it on at 9 a.m., but I forgot to. But you guys are doing great and everything, and thanks for having me on as always.
All right, thank you very much, man. We'll talk to you later.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
All right, so on the most recent edition of the Sons of UCF, I learned that our very own UCF Mike's favorite segment on Knightline is the bowl projections. I say sarcastically.
Okay.
He ranted and raved about it on the last episode. I think Trace is the only one who cares. But nonetheless, I will share with you knowledge gleaned after the most recent college football weekend. All right, get ready. Start researching your hotels and your airfares and all your travel plans. CBSSports.com and 24/7 have UCF and Arkansas State in the Cure Bowl in Orlando.
I say wonderful.
I think that's what you mentioned. Yep. Bleacher Report out with UCF Southern Miss in the Gasparilla Bowl.
Southern Miss, that would be interesting. We haven't played them in a long time. That used to be a foe, for sure.
The Action Network, sticking with the Knights, and Iowa State in the Liberty Bowl.
Who is
it's
the
a gambling
Action Network?
site. It's a gambling site.
Who cares what the Action Network has to say?
I think it's got the best projection. The Knights and Iowa State and the Liberty, to me, is the best of this.
Oh, yeah. Well,
so that's why
I was focusing on the Action Network. Yeah.
Sporting news, the Knights Marshall in the Military Bowl. That's an old-time rival.
That's a foe, too, yeah.
The Orlando Sentinel. Oh, my goodness. UCF and Toledo in the Boca Raton Bowl.
No.
And one of the ESPN projections has UCF Marshall in the Frisco Bowl, and another has UCF Charlotte versus Charlotte in the Gasparilla Bowl. And so at blackgold_ed under Ask Knightline, but I think it works here, says, what are your bowl expectations and predictions? Are you sticking with Cure?
I'm more than happy to accept the Cure Bowl for UCF. Although this one does look pretty good. The Action Network, whoever they are, says Knights and Iowa State in the Liberty Bowl.
Because the Liberty Bowl, I believe it's an SEC tie-in. The SEC isn't projected to have enough teams.
Right.
So it's going to move up some of the
Iowa
others.
State is that quarterback, Brock Purdy, that we were supposed to have, or that we were courting at one point, and we dismissed him, I think.
And it's a New Year's Eve in Memphis, Beale Street. And it's been a while since we've been there.
Yeah.
This is the first set of projections where I haven't seen UCF mentioned in the Hawaii Bowl, but there's some storylines there,
that
obviously,
could be,
but least accessible for our fan base.
Right.
I think that if the matchup was with the Big 12's Iowa State,
That
in the
would be-
Liberty, I
that
think
would-
the fan base would get a little more energized.
Right. I would take that over the Cure Bowl, obviously. But
what's your projection? You're right now going in this week. Who knows what happens now with Tulane on Saturday? But
well, it looks like, I mean, the most projections are for the Gasparilla Bowl in Tampa. I'd be fine with that as well. I mean, I would like our fan base, our local fan base, Orlando's hometown team, Orlando's hometown fans, myself included, to be able to go to this bowl game.
Would you go to the Buck Stadium?
If it was over there, I'd go.
It's at 2:30 on a Monday.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's better than the St. Pete.
No,
garbage
they're
bowl
not
thing.
there anymore.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I would never go there again, but I would go to the Cows rented stadium to see a game.
Assuming they win at Tulane and the Black Friday game, I think I like this Iowa State matchup, but I think the Gasparilla Bowl is the one that makes most sense geographically. I don't think that they'll tumble down to the Cures selection, and they've kind of been there, done that in Boca Raton. And we've got a strong alumni base in the Tampa Bay area, so that's my guess.
And that would be close
opponent
enough for our fans to go. And that's what I think is the most important thing, personally. And I would think that the school and the bowls and all that would want our crowd to travel, so that would be the easiest one.
Well, some of these, for example, we've got in the AAC, Cincinnati, Memphis, Tulane, Temple, Navy, SMU, and UCF have qualified for bowls. And most likely those are going to be the only 7 that qualify. The Military Bowl, that seems a natural for Navy.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. One of the service academies should play in that.
Yeah. And so Tulane was in the Cure Bowl last year. So maybe they go to the Boca Raton Bowl. And maybe Temple comes to Orlando for the Cure Bowl. And it would make sense to me that if SMU isn't going to eclipse Memphis or Cincinnati for the Cotton Bowl, that maybe the Frisco Bowl makes sense for them from a travel standpoint.
SMU.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then the Cincinnati or Memphis would be the team to go to the Cotton Bowl.
What about the Cows? Where are they at in that?
No.
They're not bowl eligible?
They're toilet bowl eligible, if you know what I mean.
Boy. That's awesome that they're not eligible.
There we go. Yeah.
We haven't had that for a long time.
So that's where I would say, my guess, and we'll reevaluate after Tulane. And it's just curious, though, that these don't tend to change very much. Whoever's projecting them, while they're all different, they kind of stay the same every week with that. And I know our fan base is disappointed. We've grown accustomed to fiestas and peaches and that kind of thing. I think this is more an indictment of the league's bowl tie-ins than it is of UCF's possible 9-3 record. And 9-3 should get you a better bowl than some of these. It was a big deal for Tulane, who hadn't been bowl eligible in a number of years, to qualify at 6-6 last year, 7-5, something along that line, and get to the Cure Bowl. That was a big deal for them. Things have changed for UCF, and that's, that's why the Liberty
The
one.
only reason I say the Cure Bowl, and I'm sure that people are going to be upset for me automatically saying we should do the Cure Bowl, was just because it's right here.
Yeah.
It's right here. So, I mean, that was what was nice about it the last time.
And on a Saturday, too. So,
Instead of a Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is it,
it's TV, ESPN. That's what they want. They want programming.
What's the date of
Monday, December 23.
Okay, so it's at least a couple days before Christmas, but I would be working at that time.
Well, now you know.
Well, I mean, if we go to that bowl, I'm taking it off. I mean, my boss already knows that. She's a UCF graduate, so it's all good.
We don't know that Alan Gooch doesn't listen to the show, but if we end up in that bowl, we're going to have to say, hey, good to talk with you again, Coach Gooch.
Well, no, absolutely. We'll have him on here, and I mean, it makes it easy for us. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, for press conferences.
Yeah, I mean, it makes the whole thing a little easier for everybody. All the Orlando people can go there, and we can fill that place. I mean, we can sell that place out.
I don't think so. I don't think our fan base is going to be gigged about it.
Isn't it only like 20,000 or something like that?
That's only about what the Cows draw. No, it's the Buck Stadium. It holds 60.
No. I'm talking about the Cure Bowl.
Oh, the Cure Bowl. Oh, I'm sorry. I was over in Tampa again. Oh, yeah, just 20,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could fill that place.
Yeah.
We could fill that place
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they could get us somebody better than Arkansas State.
Though that's a compelling story. You know, the coach earlier this year lost his wife after a battle with cancer and then
I
came
didn't
back,
know
and
that.
they've really rallied.
Oh, and the Cure, the whole thing. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
too
it
bad.
may be a return for Arkansas
They
State
should be
because of the
they
tie-in.
should be in that.
Yeah, they've been
I
very
didn't know
emotional
that.
stories.
Oh, no,
you
I
remember? You remember that though? That his wife was sick, and then she passed away. He was away from the team for a little while, and now they've really rallied with him back.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's.
I don't follow them very much. Oh man, that sucks.
Yep.
No, well, then they should be there. So if that's who we play, that's who we play.
Yeah, that gas barrel is Monday, December 23, 2:30 on ESPN. That's your time for that.
Well,
while you read this next item, I'm going to look up what time the Cure Bowl is on
all right.
Saturday.
Well, some good news now. Alex Harris, one of 23 finalists for the Mortel Award, given to the nation's best holder, last year's winner, Mac Loudermilk. So we could have the nation's best holder 2 years in a row. That'd be cool.
Special teams, at least the kicking game has been pretty spot on this year.
That's awesome for Alex Harris. And then what else? Defensive coordinator Randy Shannon, one of 41 nominees for the Broyles Award.
Way to narrow it down.
Yeah, which recognizes the nation's best assistant coach. He's getting some accolades for the defense. I mean, it's been... At least he wasn't second half Randy this year. At least it was pretty consistent the whole way through.
If I'm betting anything, it'll be on that he does not win this award.
You never know.
No.
You never know. Probably not.
By the way, Cure Bowl is December 21, 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon.
A
Saturday.
Yeah, well,
Saturday
it'll be
afternoon.
Saturday football.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and I mean, that's pretty much that. And then I'm going to talk, I guess, about Knightline the morning after. You missed it today. If you didn't listen, you'll get to hear it tomorrow, though, tomorrow night when I put it out. But I wish that people would call. More people need to call. We had Ben Stout there today, was going to answer all your questions about basketball and all that stuff, and we had a great time. It was a great conversation. It was me, Night Bengal, Roger, and Ben Stout, and we talked a lot about basketball, and then we talked about a little bit about football and KZ, and we talked about some 80s big hair. That was a thing that we talked about.
Did you have big hair?
No, but in the 90s, when I played football, yes, I did have long hair.
Really?
Yeah.
How long?
It was down to the middle of my back.
Well, we were doing Getting to Know You. Are we going to rehash Getting to Know You?
No. But we were talking about 80s. I don't know how it came up, but we were talking about 80s bands, and I was in a band in high school and college, and you had to have long hair. Like the metal, I was in the hair metal band. You had to have long hair. No short-haired guys were in bands.
So how long down your back was it?
It was down to like the middle of my back. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
I double dog dare you to do it again.
I can't. I don't think it would grow on the top.
Well, the back would.
Yeah. I'd have a Hulk Hogan head. I'd have that little. What you gonna do? But no. Yeah. So we were talking about, and I went to a concert the other night that I tried to promote on our Twitter to see if anybody was going to go, and nobody responded, and I can see why. I went to see Tyler Farr at the Barn the other night, which was interesting. Tyler Farr is a country guy. Great show, but there was this girl there that had some pretty big hair. She had some 80s poofy, mall hair.
So you're projecting it's coming back?
It's coming back. It's coming back, I think.
At least in Sanford, Florida.
Yeah, I think the big hair...
on a Friday night.
I think the big hair is coming back, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, we talked about that. So you never know what we're going to talk about on there. It could be the most random things in the world, especially when football ends. It could be really random. But it'll be fun. It's always a good time. So 9 o'clock, Sunday mornings, I know. You don't even have to get out of bed to listen to it, though. That's the thing. You don't have to
Or to call.
Or to call. Yeah, you can call me from your bed. There's no problem with that.
Maybe it's just a fan base that wants to spout off on message boards and Twitter.
I know. You could spout off live to me. All these people that seem to have issues with me personally could spout off to me.
Maybe that's the way to promote it.
Yell at Andrew. Say anything you want within, exceptions.
The phone is ringing you off the hook.
Yeah. We've never had this many calls ever before. So, yeah, you could tell me I'm wrong about everything.
They're on a delay there, though, so they could swear.
There is a delay. No, they can't swear.
There's a delay, though.
There's a delay, but don't swear because that makes it difficult. No, we can't have any of that.
I'm not encouraging that, but if you want to, voice your opinion.
Yeah, but normal
Call
radio.
in and tell Andrew what you think.
Radio etiquette. It's fun, though. It's a good time. So, like I said, you don't even have to get out of bed. Just, on your phone, you could do it on TuneIn Radio or the ESPN Orlando 580 Orlando.com. Just give it a listen. It's really better than you think, I guess. I think people listen. I just don't think people call. So, all right. What else? Oh, yeah, we have this AAC scoreboard from Jeff Allen.
Time now to take a look around the American. Sam Crosa kicked a 37-yard field goal as time expired to lift number 17 Cincinnati to a 2017 come-from-behind victory over South Florida and clinch at least a share of the AAC East Division title. Number 18 Memphis defeated Houston 45-27. Brady White threw for 341 yards and 5 touchdowns. The Tigers now 9-1, 5-1 in conference as they hold the tiebreaker in the West over SMU and Navy with identical records. Number 23 Navy fell to number 16 Notre Dame in our Spotlight Game of the Week 52-20. The Irish defense forced 3 first-half fumbles by Navy quarterback Malcolm Perry, who rushed 25 times for 117 yards in that defeat. Will Mobley kicked 3 field goals, and Anthony Russo tossed 2 touchdown passes as Temple held off Tulane 29-21. Temple goes to 7-3, 4-2 in conference. Tulane 6-4, 3-3 in conference. In men's soccer, 10th-ranked SMU down 5th-ranked UCF 1-0 to win their 3rd straight AAC tournament title. Both teams will now await to see their seeding for the NCAA tournament. And on the women's side, USF defeated Florida 4-2 on Friday night to advance to the 2nd round of the NCAA tournament. I'm Jeff Allen. We will cover all things in the American on this week's AAC Report only on the Knightline Sports Network.
I could see some big hair people listening to that music right there. For sure.
I'm trying to think of the right poll question.
I love that music, though. That's good music that Jeff has. Thank you, Jeff.
I want to thank at Golden Knight _2. Always good to throw us a question in Ask Knightline almost every single week. And he sent us a note. Great show, guys. Talking about last week, number 210. With being exposed to so many overreactions from both sides of the spectrum, it's nice to have a legitimate conversation and dialogue with the issues, with the loss and what needs to be fixed. I appreciate the consistency you bring during wins and losses.
Finally, we were called legitimate. That's the first time.
It took 211
That's the first
5
time.
years.
Thank you, Golden Knight, too. That's awesome.
Well, we weren't called legitimate. It was a legitimate conversation. Are we claiming credit for the word legitimate?
Yeah, I mean, we had the legitimate conversation. That's the first time I've ever heard anybody say that.
We've arrived.
We have arrived.
Men's basketball fights back from a 9-point halftime deficit to snag the road win over Illinois State. We're talking about that with former UCF men's basketball player Ben Stout. All this, so much more. Nightline number 211 continues right after this.
You've heard us talk about the great food at our good friend Kyle Israel's restaurant, The Little Greek Fresh Grill. The Little Greek now has franchises available. Please call 407-697-2272. That's 407-697-2272 to see what The Little Greek can do for you. Also, check out The Little Greek's newest location at 6536 Old Brick Road in Windermere, Florida. The Little Greek Fresh Grill. Fresh, flavorful, fabulous. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Knightline's own 7-footer, Ben Big Social Stout, and Inside the Paint.
It wasn't always pretty, but UCF fights back from a 34-25 halftime deficit, goes on a 10-2 run to close things out in Normal, Illinois. Final, UCF 67, Illinois State 65. UCF gets its first road win of the season and improves to 2-1. Let's talk about it with former UCF men's basketball player Ben Stout, who is inside the paint and joins us now on the Knightline hotline. Ben, we've had 3 games in 8 days, 2 at home, the loss earlier in the week to Miami, the win Sunday at Illinois State. 2-part question. What will be for UCF fans the enjoyment of this season? What's the takeaway you've seen through 3 games that can really allow you to enjoy the season? And conversely, what through 3 games could frustrate you in the weeks ahead?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Great to be on with you guys. Those are a couple of great questions. I think this season, I think this team kind of reminds me of the 2014 UCF football team, coming off such a great season in 2013 where we had a spectacular postseason success, and we still had some talent on that team in 2014, but they were certainly hard workers, and they were easy to root for, and they were the cardiac Knights, that's for sure. They came down to the wire in most games on their way to a conference championship. Now, I'm not putting a conference championship on this basketball team this year, but by the same token, I think some of the things that you saw today, especially in the second half, that grit, that toughness, that fight, is going to be some of the things that you're really excited and happy to root for about this team. They seem to never want to give up, and they certainly take it to them and fight to the end, get lost in the fight, as Coach Dawkins says. So I think that's a really exciting aspect about this team that we're going to see throughout the season as they develop and gel together, is that really excitement that comes with the hustle and the amount of fight that they put forth night in and night out. Now, some of the things that may get a little bit frustrating with this team this year is we do, as I've said before, we do have a bit more three-point shooters or capable three-point shooters on this team, and when those shots aren't falling, especially for certain guys, it can be frustrating to see us kind of live and die by the three. And you saw a little bit of that in the first half of this game today, where they were kind of taking some shots outside of rhythm and missing those, and they were a little bit out. And then what you saw in the second half, I think, of making sure that they were putting the ball in the paint and playing inside out and driving kick game, I think that's where you're going to see a lot more success. So I think we can get a little it might be a little frustrating at times, but it also might be really exciting to see their capabilities from the three-point shooting line, because they certainly shoot a lot more threes than they did last year.
Now, Sunday at Illinois State, a little shakeup in the lineup, and then a shakeup again at halftime. Starting the second half was Brandon Mahan and Avery Diggs. You can see some coaching going on there for Coach Dawkins and his staff, assessing what had gone on and making an adjustment.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing from Coach Dawkins, I mean, he told us in a number of his press conferences that you released even throughout this week's race off the Knightline Nows, where he's certainly going to, from a coaching staff standpoint, he's going to try out different personnel units and different lineups. And while the team is gelling together, he's also the coaches gelling with the team, and they're trying different lineups out. And I think that you saw that today. Over the first 2 games of the season, Ibrahim Famika Dumia, he really displayed a lot of athleticism and really good defense. And I think that Coach Dawkins decided to give him the start today to set the tone defensively from the very beginning. And while he definitely did that, he had 2 blocks very early on. Within the first couple of minutes, he had 2 really good blocks. He was all over the boards. But on the offensive end, they were lacking a bit. And so what you saw in the second half, as you said, starting Avery Diggs and Brandon Mahan in the lineup, along with Colin Smith, Faison Ingram, and I think it was Frank Burtz, I'm not sure. But regardless, what you saw in that lineup was a lot of size, athleticism, and the ability to get it done on both ends of the floor. They were playing great defense, but they were also gelling together and playing well on offense. And so that lineup right there really intrigues me moving forward. And I think that is one that could be here to stay.
What do you like about the play of freshman Darren Green Jr.?
There's not much to dislike so far. I think that while I was trying to search for that fifth guy that actually started the second half of this game a few minutes ago, I don't have to search for the lineup that I think I'd really like moving forward. It was those four that I mentioned, and then Darren Green Jr. at the two guard. He seems like a very poised kid, kind of poised beyond his years, especially poised for a freshman. He's got that calm confidence that I've talked about before. We were still down in the ball game, trying to come back and fight and claw with about a minute left, and he was the one that nailed that three to put us in the lead there with a minute left in the game. So he's certainly he's got a lot of calm confidence about him, and he is just an electric 3-point shooter. But I think he's got some savvy on defense as well, and he's showing early on that he's capable of playing big minutes and in big moments, and there's a lot to like about that kid, that's for sure.
Conversely, through 3 games, quite a bit of struggles for Matt Milan, who is 0 for nearly everything. Why, in this age of instant gratification, where everybody's got to perform to fan expectations immediately, tell us why we should be patient with Matt Milan in finding his shot?
Well, I don't think 3 games makes a trend. Certainly, what I am more worried about with Matt Milan is that I don't want him to kind of lose his place in this lineup. I don't want him to necessarily kind of fade away in this lineup with the emergence of some of the young players that we have seen. He's been one of the best 3-point shooters in the country for his whole career up until this point. And so, as I said, 3 games don't make a trend, but it is concerning to see him not miss some wide open shots, and in some points miss them kind of badly. And then in other times in the game that he's forcing some shots and maybe missing the open man on the extra pass because he's just trying to shoot himself back into the game, or get out of this slump. But everything that I've heard about him, he's an extremely hard worker. He's a bit of a gym rat. He's been a leader on the teams that he has been on prior to this. I'm not worried about this necessarily lasting too much longer, but it is concerning. He's basically from the 3-point line. If I can think of this stat correctly, I think he's about 1 for 14 or 1 for 15, and it's just tough to see as a fan for him struggling like this. And then one of the things that did concern me even further today is he got an opportunity at the free throw line and he badly missed the free throw off the front end of the rim. And so it just kind of shows you that he's not in a great headspace right now. And I hope that him and his teammates and his coaches can really bring him out of it.
Are we seeing some better play on the defensive side of the ball? We went into the season talking about how Johnny Dawkins prides himself on the defensive approach, and we've seen this obviously in a different era with different players, Taco Fall notably, and we're in a transitional time now. Are you starting to see what could gel and be formidable defense?
Yeah, I am. I am, especially with that lineup in the second half. When you've got some more size in the lineup, I think they had more confidence, especially in that kind of loose man-to-man that they play, or their or even when they settle into that half-court zone defense. I think they had a little more confidence with the size in that lineup, with not only Diggs being at 6'11", I believe, but Brandon Mahan at that wing position with the size that he has. That lineup has a lot of athleticism in it, and I think that they found something there, not only some of the high-low game and things that we saw on the offensive end. But on the defensive end, I definitely think that lineup is a really solid one. And that's an area where the type of defense that I think Coach Dawkins wants to play, which is you kind of switch a lot on screens and you rely a lot on communication. That's where it may be not as obvious, but certainly that chemistry that we keep talking about with this team is very, very important. That communication is very important. And so it's going to take them a little bit to gel on defense, but you saw some great things in that second half today.
All right, so 3 games in 8 days, now 6 days off until Charleston comes to the arena, which will no doubt get swallowed up going head-to-head with the football game in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. This will be a week, don't you think, for teaching and coaching and really putting into game practices what they've seen on film through 3 games?
Yeah, it's definitely. They're going to be deep into film sessions now that they've got 3 games to kind of pull from and really dive deep into it. There'll be a lot of film sessions, not only on the College of Charleston team and the game plan that they're preparing for with that one, but certainly there'll be some review of either individually with each of the players, trying to find things that they can improve on individually, but certainly as a team to show them on film where the areas that these opportunities lie, where they can really improve. And so they'll be diving deep into that. There'll be a lot of walkthroughs and different fundamental things that they'll go through in practice. So it's nice that we've got 6 it's nice that we've got a win under our belt here, going 2-1, going into this kind of 6-day in between the next game. And so I think that they're going to get into some fundamentals in practice, and you should see it even further improved or building upon what happened in the second half today. You should see that in the game against Charleston. And I'm looking forward to that particular game. I unfortunately can't be there. There's going to be a lot of our basketball alumni there for a little bit of an alumni night. But College of Charleston, little anecdotal note, they were one of the first ranked teams my freshman year, one of the first ranked teams that UCF basketball had ever beaten. They were 25 in the country my freshman year playing. So I got kind of a soft spot for UCF playing up against those guys. So I'm hoping they can take it to them.
All right, well, Ben, thank you so much for joining us, man. We really appreciate it, and thank you for joining me on Knightline the morning after this morning. You did a great job.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me. That was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to doing more of that.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more, so looking forward to it as well. Thank you very much for taking your time, man. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys. You guys have a good show. Charge on.
All right, good talking with Ben. I like the insight that he brings to us, especially with the 3 games in 8 days. It's a lot to absorb.
He did really great on the radio with me this morning. Like, even better than the stuff that he does on here. He really came alive on the radio. It was awesome.
So it'll be Charleston that comes to town Saturday, November 23, first tip 2 o'clock. A football game at noon. A lot going on at the same time, but we'll have it for you on Knightline 212.
Absolutely. All right, Knights in the pros. Latavius Murray today, 10 carries for 27 yards. Not that big of a deal there. Matt Prater, 3 extra points. Perryman, 1 catch for 20 yards. The big deal in the Knights in the pros this week, Brandon Alexander. If you remember him from a couple of years ago, we just talked to, well, if you heard it, I was talking to Brandon. It was kind of breaking news because it was during that interview that I was watching it on TV. Brandon Alexander, 4 tackles in the win to get them to the Grey Cup, the Canadian Football Championship. He plays for the Winnipeg Bombers, and he's had a really nice career there, and I hope it continues. But he's going to be playing for the championship next Sunday, and that's awesome. We've had him on here. He's a really, really nice guy. Hopefully we can get him again, maybe in the off season for football, and talk to him about this. Hopefully they win that. It'll be on ESPN. I think that it'll probably be on ESPN, full on ESPN, the main channel, or on ESPN2 next Sunday, because that is their Super Bowl, and it's usually a really good game. It's against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And if you feel like watching some Canadian football, I've talked about it a million times on here. I love it. It's a really good game. It's kind of you're going to see some things that you see in arena football here. Receivers moving before the snap and stuff like that. It's a really, really fun game. But you could root on one of our own, Brandon Alexander, in that Grey Cup championship game. Very, very cool.
Island H2O Live, a new wave of water park.
Experience the next generation of fun at Island H2O Live. You choose the music. You choose the lighting. And you choose where to share your memorable moments at Florida's newest and most immersive water park.
Island H2O Live.
Now open in Kissimmee, located off US 192 and State Road 429 on Inspiration Boulevard.
Island H2O Live.
Alrighty, time for the Island H2O Live giveaway. This week's winner was Jacqueline Cocroft, a.k.a. at @thatgirl_Jackie. And @thatgirl_Jackie, you need to give me your email address. So email that, or email me at andrew@knightlinesports.com, andrew@knightlinesports.com. I still need to hear from last week's winner as well, because that person never got a hold of me.
Yeah, I don't have a Twitter handle or an email address. Naito2000, who left it on the iTunes, the 5-star review. This week we went to the retweet the post about Island H2O, and we had a number of people do that, and thank you.
And that's what we're going to do again this week.
Going to do it again?
Yeah, that was pretty cool to do that. So we'll do that again. If you see the logo, our post on Twitter, we'll do it on Facebook as well. You can share it on Facebook. We'll do it on both of them. And retweet or share that, and you can be picked at random. So
this was not the best weather weekend for any water park, but,
no, but
it's
these
supposed to go into the 80s.
Good for, these passes are good for next calendar year as well. So it's 4 passes. So if you have your family that wants to go to a really, really cool water park, check it out and try to win. I love that we're doing this. I love that we're giving away these tickets for this. It's very, very cool. Thank you, Island H2O.
Taking a look at your Nightline Planner. Light week, we've talked about the basketball and the men's soccer. Women's basketball hosts Delaware on the 24th at 2 o'clock, and we're going to have more on volleyball and what's going on with that coming up in news and notes. Earlier, we ran an Ask Nightline question about the bowl projections from @blackgold_Ed, who also wrote to us in reference to you. Andrew, you hit it on the head. Coach Josh Heupel gets tight and becomes very basic when we are not doing well. Thanks for vocalizing what a lot of us have been observing. Charge on.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
We check in on volleyball, as I mentioned. We answer your questions. We got a provocative one, by the way, with a hypothetical about who might be a possible future coach for UCF football, you or me. That's a question that's coming up in Ask Nightline when Nightline 211 returns.
Oviedo Brewing Company is the hottest microbrewery in Central Florida. Located 7 miles from UCF at the Oviedo Mall, this 8,800 square foot brewery just opened its doors 6 months ago and has already crafted 13 unique beer flavors and counting in their tap room. The tap room contains different styles of beverages, including ciders, wines, and craft sodas. Not only do they have amazing beers, they also have a full kitchen with gourmet pizzas, wings, and tacos. Oviedo Brewing has activities for each day of the week, such as Taco Tuesdays, Trivia Wednesdays, Pizza and Pint on Thursdays, plus live music on Friday and Saturday evening. But the best is Sunday brunch with unlimited beer mimosas. Need a spot for game day? Oviedo Brewing is just the place with their large TVs to catch all the live games. You also find Oviedo Brewing at UCF tailgating sampling beers. And OBC support for the Knights doesn't stop there. If you need a spot for UCF away games, come to Oviedo Brewing Company, where the Knightline Sports Crew will be broadcasting live after the game. You can get all the details on their Instagram or Facebook page. Follow them at Oviedo Brewing CO. Download the Untapped app, and you can find out what beers are on tap. The food menu is also available on their website, oviedobrewingco.com.
Hey Night Nation, it's Adam from the Sons of UCF. Be sure to check out our show every Wednesday only on the Knightline Sports Network. Now, back to 2 guys who probably won't be Cow of the Week nominees, Andrew and Trace.
Ask a Nightline is brought to you by Chad Barr Law. Chad is a UCF alumnus and diehard Knights fan. Chad Barr Law handles auto accident, slip and fall, and personal injury cases. Call Chad today at 407-599-9036 for a free consultation. That's 407-599-9036. Armor up and call Chad Barlaw today.
Time again for Ask Knightline, answering the questions that you send our way on our Facebook page. By the way, you Facebook people, you're not very good at sending in questions. We get most of these from the Twitter handle at...
There's a lot more people on Twitter than there are on
_Knightline. At Brando Nitro, do you think Charlie Strong gets fired over in Tampa? Another letdown for them and us against Cincinnati. I think they want to fire him, but they may not be able to afford it. I hope they don't.
Yeah, I think he should stay there for the rest of his life.
Fairly new athletic director, though, and...
he may have somebody in waiting.
Yeah, he may have somebody in mind, and obviously they're underperforming. But I think you hit on it right there. If he sticks with Charlie Strong, it's because he can't afford to make that change. But when you look at the meager crowds, it's the same situation with Willie Taggart up at Florida State. You got to do that buyout with him as assistants. You got to hire another coach. By the way, they still haven't hired anybody. But what's the cost of that versus having tens of thousands of empty seats? Yeah. I don't know that changing the coach changes the fortunes for their attendance. So maybe it's just cancels out. At Fear of the Pegasus, will UCF and Temple win out, and since they lose at least 2 of 3? Well, we can hope.
I hope so. Not looking good at this point.
Temple at Cincinnati this coming Saturday night. So it's got to start there.
That could be a good game.
Of course, by that time, we'll have known the result of UCF at Tulane. UCF takes care of business. You root for Temple, and then you go into the last weekend of the season. So at Jason_P Steele, what should I have for dinner tonight? I'll hang up and listen.
Steak, of course.
Steak?
Yeah, a steak.
All right, there you go. At Golden Knight _ the second, who we thank for the nice compliment earlier. What's your confidence level by UCF going in versus the last T team, Tulane? Do you expect another letdown like Tulsa or a bounce back like Temple?
Wow, yeah, the 3 Ts. We do play 3 Ts.
What's your confidence level? Do it on a 1 to 10. 10 maximum confidence, 1 no confidence.
It's about a 6 at this point, yeah, because we haven't been overwhelmingly good on the road this year. So I hope whatever it was. I mean, we did bounce back the last time, and after 2 road losses and beat Temple. So I'm going to give it, 5 would be kind of the middle of the road. I'm giving it a 6.
11 a.m. start time, which is the same for both teams, but boy, that seems like a sleepy start, doesn't it? You got to motivate yourself. I know Coach O'Leary liked to say he wanted to get it out of the way, get him to the stadium and play that noon game, but you've heard Kyle Israel talk about no one's really gigged about that.
Heupel needs to get these guys up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, they practice in the morning, right? So, putting on the pads and hitting people shouldn't be that different at 11 a.m. than it is, they're out there a little bit earlier than that during the week for practice, so they should be ready. And Mr. D. Benoit, going into next season, which players do we see rising as team leaders? I think the biggest thing this team missed this season were true leaders, i.e. Shaquem or McKenzie. The team could go for the emotional, mental support or just get a big play when absolutely needed. I think the obvious answer is the growth of leadership from Dylan Gabriel, right? I think we saw that transition and transformation with Mackenzie Milton. And your quarterback, as Brandon was talking about, as your quarterback goes, right? If your quarterback plays strong, you're going to be in, and UCF is in all of these games. A couple have not gone the right way for UCF, but Dylan is the obvious answer. What's another one? Who's another one?
I'd like to see somebody step up on the defensive side. I think the clear leaders are probably Neville Clark and Nate Evans on the defense.
Yeah, but they move on.
And they're both probably going to be gone. They both will be gone. So there's going to need to be somebody there, and I'm not sure who that is. So maybe Antoine Collier. I don't know if he's kind of the type to be a vocal leader or not, but there's got to be somebody back there. Richie Grant, I think, he should. Will he be a senior or a junior?
What about Eric Mitchell?
Eric Mitchell, maybe.
He could be one.
Yeah, Richie Grant could definitely be one. Brandon Moore could be one.
Brandon Moore could be quite a story.
Making his comeback. And
you see the video of him this week that he posted on
walking.
His Instagram?
That's great. That was his first day walking.
Yeah.
So that's really good. So, some of those guys for sure. some upperclassman needs to step up, obviously. So you're right, though. I don't think we've had extreme leadership like we've had before. So it is something that we definitely need.
And you need those strong seniors in particular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At J Tizzle 521, what do you all want to see in these last 3 games in order to feel like the Knights have some momentum to build on for 2020 and forward? And he says, consistency pops in my head. What do you think?
I want to see wins in all of them. All of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure you can answer that question without winning the games. I don't think if you project any of those games as a loss, I don't see how you can also then have momentum. I don't think you could win the last 2. And I mean, I guess you could lose at Tulane and win the next 2.
You can't lose a bowl game, though, and have any momentum.
No, you can't lose your rivalry game on Black Friday, even if you come back and win your bowl game. I think to win to get consistency, you've got to win. I don't know that they're going to be dramatically different in games 11, 12, and 13, but I'd like to see more discipline this week, cut down on the penalties, reduce the turnovers, see it's the same thing that we talk about, right? More growth in Dylan's game, and it may be baked in the cake. You like to see progress, but
I think it just starts with winning, going 1-0 in all 3 of those games.
Oh, there we go, 1-0. And we'll end with that my check mark, PLE1. Let's create a little coaching controversy. Do we need to?
Yes.
Isn't there been enough?
Yeah, well, I like this question.
Hypothetical. Danny White fires Coach Heupel and realizes Andrew and Trace have been under his nose all along. Who gets the nod as head coach and who's relegated to assistant/water boy? Not holding back there, are we?
Well, this is easy. I mean, I have the football experience. I played college football. I've played football since I was in 4th grade. A couple of years of semi-pro football. Trace, did you ever play football at all?
I have played the game of football. Not at the level you have.
But
I played
let's hear
football.
about your football
Well, I don't
experience.
like to brag about my football. But
did you play Pop Warner?
No, I never played organized football.
Well,
I played the game of football, but
it's an obvious.
No, I think that I display the temperament week in and week out. I think what this team needs is more of a disciplinarian, and I think that I exhibit the discipline and the success in my life and career.
Oh, okay. So I haven't been successful in my career?
Didn't say that.
Oh, okay.
I don't think this team needs hot takes. I think this team needs a more disciplined approach.
Okay, hot takes. Well, I just don't see anybody that didn't play the game of football at least the college level being a college football coach. I mean, how could you identify with what these players are thinking and feeling? There's no way.
It's a hypothetical that we'll never realize. But I think I'll interview well for the position. I think what will cancel out your playing background will be my alumni status. I think that'll give me a nod.
Well, no, I don't think the players would ever agree to that. They wouldn't play for you. They'd play for me. I'd fire them up, give them the old rah-rah speech.
The interesting thing, though, is that you see after you get a disciplinarian like George O'Leary, you get more of a player's coach like Scott Frost. I think it remains to be seen, as we spoke with Brandon earlier.
I wouldn't be a player's coach.
But it remains to be seen what we have in Josh Heupel. Is he the player's coach?
He's a middle-of-the-road guy.
But what does a team need? I mean, you can follow it along. Donnie Jones was loosey-goosey, and then you bring in someone that is more, more by the book.
That is definitely one way to explain
Donnie
Jones, loosey-goosey.
If the team doesn't exhibit more disciplined play the rest of this season into 2020, then you may gravitate towards a more disciplined
Trace,
coach.
You can be my team's water boy anytime.
I will not accept that position.
Well, come on. Assistant water boy.
No.
Is that assistant water boy or is that assistant /
It didn't even say assistant coach, did
it? It said assistant / water boy.
I don't think they mean assistant coach.
You could be the assistant water boy
None
anytime
of this is ever going to happen, but if it did, I'm happy to take that position. All right, thank you everybody for your questions. Hashtag Ask Knightline.
And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports.
All right, volleyball ends the regular season with road wins at Temple and UConn. UCF finishes second in the East with a 14-2 record. Both of the losses this season to Cincinnati, which won the East. They lost to them home and away. UCF 21-7 overall, RPI 27. So we were talking earlier about men's soccer. You know, it's in all likelihood UCF well positioned for the NCAAs. They hosted last year. Yeah, I don't know that that's going to happen this year. Sophomore McKenna Melville will be very key to that, though she was the American Offensive Player Week, second time this season. Now, here's what's up next. UCF will host the new American Championship in volleyball. So UCF is the host site for this. The Knights, the 3rd seed, will face 6th seeded Tulsa. Listen to this one. Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon. There's a night game between 4 and 5 that comes on immediately after this game. I understand that they're the higher seed, but it would have been nice to give the home fans an opportunity to see them after work instead of playing them in the middle of the afternoon. And then if they win, they move on to Saturday. How about this? Saturday is smack dab up against men's basketball at the arena and goes head-to-head with the football game. You know, there are only so many fans.
Yeah.
Right?
What is this new American Championship?
Well, they haven't had a volleyball tournament.
Oh. So it's new.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so they haven't had that.
Interesting.
You know, like the American Championship for soccer.
Why didn't they have it?
Yeah. Just not something they did. And so if it works out, UCF might a week out, Sunday, have a collision course with Cincinnati again. That would be a 1:30 title game. But if they lose,
Cincinnati is just becoming a thorn in our side.
Well, look at SMU too with men's soccer. So some of these schools are a thorn. So
it's a natural rivalry there.
So there you go. Volleyball, at least will play Friday, and they have beaten the teams except Cincinnati. So, will third time be the charm on that? You got to win Friday. You got to win Saturday. They don't get the bye because they didn't win the Eastern Division. So we'll see. Talent's there. NCAA tournament, though, seemingly a lock.
All right. Women's hoops wins 63-57 at Stephen F. Austin. UCF is 2-2.
Women's tennis wraps up the fall season with 2 top 15th ranked duos. Rebecca Stolmar and Marie Mattel check in at number 3 in the country in the doubles rankings. Ksenia Kuznetsova and Valeria Zalieva rank 11th in doubles.
Men's tennis also concludes the fall season with the doubles team of Gabriel DeCamps and Juan Pablo Grassi Masushi, checking in as the 6th ranked duo.
That was what? I just want to hear you say it again a different way. Softball wraps up fall ball, 7-5 winners over Florida Southwestern. The Knights also welcomed 8 new recruits. Welcome to UCF. They released the 2020 schedule, which opens with a home game with Indiana coming up February 6th. We're not that far away from that now.
No, we're not. And finally, baseball also wraps up fall ball. Team Black gets the walk-off win Saturday and takes 2 of 3 in this year's Black and Gold World Series.
They're all winners. They're Knights.
They absolutely are, and we're winners too. This has been Knightline 211 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. I'm Andrew Phegley.
I'm Trace Trylko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. B-S-E-T-O-R-Y. Tonight our Knights will shine. UCF.